Thank you everyone for being here today and for the warm welcome. I want to also thank our Chamber Board of Directors and their staff, the sponsors today for their generosity, our school board members and administration for hosting us in this beautiful facility, our Board of County Commissioners, who's also here, and our City Council members, who I have the pleasure of working with every day on many of the things we'll be talking about today. As we get started here, I want to introduce you to a little friend of mine. Well, not so little. So believe it or not, the woolly mammoth existed in Ohio perhaps as recently as 4,000 years ago. Why exactly it went extinct is not certain, but what we know is certain is that Darwin's theory on natural selection prevailed. His quote is one that we've all heard before. It's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It's the one that's most adaptable to change. So as I share with you today some of the things happening in our city, the theme I'm focused on is adaptability. If it seems that the pace of change is faster today than in days past, it's because it is. In just a few years, we've changed the way we work, the way we shop, the way we embrace technology, the way we think about and define equity, family, security, and so many other things. And like the woolly mammoth, to survive and to thrive, we must adapt. But adaptability is not the same as simply conforming to change. Adapting is fluid. It requires action, preparation, investment, even nimbleness. It's a willful act. Conforming is a resignation to an inevitability that often begins with resistance to change. So this applies to communities as well. Communities that willingly adapt to change remain successful over time. Communities that conform are often slow to new realities and end up playing catch up. So let's take a look at some of the things that we're doing. Adaptive cities must have reliable foundations. This includes financial stability, updated infrastructure, public safety, and a developed economy. These four topics have been consistently identified by mayors and city managers over the decades across the United States, because without stability in these basic areas, it's impossible to be nimble when we're faced with change. I'm happy to say that our city is in its most sound position financially in our history. Our general fund reserves are at their highest level, both in terms of real dollars and compared to our annual revenue and expenditures. Our debt service remains very low. In fact, only 3.5% of our annual revenue is attributed to paying our debt service. Equally important is the caretaking of these public funds. We recently had a visitor from our Auditor of State, Keith Faber, who presented David Malinowski and his staff, our finance director, with the highest award achievable by a public agency, the Auditor's Award with Distinction. In less than 10% of public agencies actually will ever receive this award, and we receive it almost annually, which reflects zero findings on the city's annual audit. State Auditor Faber also spent that same morning giving a talk to members of our chamber where he emphasized the unrelenting cyber attacks facing both private and public agencies. I'm happy to say that our IT department, led by our Chief Technology Officer, Ali Sayan, is using the ever-increasing portion of our city's budget that's dedicated to IT to firm up our network protection, to safeguard our public funds, and more importantly, our resident and taxpayer information to protect against breach. In fact, we just recently hired a full-time cybersecurity analyst on our staff. We continue to invest heavily in our traditional infrastructure with an ambitious capital improvement plan led by our city engineer, Dave Swigger, and his staff. Last year, we finished up the completion of the bridge deck on Center Street. That was an ODOT cooperative project, almost a $7 million project. You'll see the underside of that still having some work done, but we are happy to get that done in record time and keep traffic flowing through that corridor all year long. We did about an additional $6.5 million of local infrastructure improvements last year that included predominantly most of Chillicothe Road, Garfield Road, Jackson Street from Heisley to our East Corp line, Heisley Road from Hendricks to the Route 2 interchange. And we also did about 23 neighborhood streets and about $500,000 in storm sewer improvements. This year, we'll do about $4 million in infrastructure improvements. We'll be resurfacing Hopkins Road from Plains to Lakeshore, Corduroy Road from the south end of the causeway heading into the headlands to Garden Lane. We'll probably refurbish about 20 neighborhood streets and do about $1 million in stormwater work to streets that include Edge Hill, Lakeshore. We'll also improve about 4,300 feet of open ditch that will significantly increase capacity in the Bellflower and Meadowbrook neighborhoods. So if you've ever driven through the Bellflower curves on a real heavy rain, you've seen some backups there. That should resolve that problem. We'll also do repair about 18 miles worth of sidewalk next year. And also, we continue to work with community cell tower, fiber, and small cell providers to expand our broadband capabilities in the city. We already have fiber connections between all of our city facilities, and we're constantly adding cell towers on city properties to do our public's part in improving our 5G network. Our ability to keep our communities safe relies on maintaining the best equipment and technology and the best training for our police officers. I'm happy to say that the amount of overall crime in our city is not rising and remains consistently low for a city of our size. Some of the positive statistics over the last year, we saw a decrease in drug crimes for the second year in a row. Our motor vehicle thefts were cut in half. Our vehicle accidents were down about 8%, and our OVI arrests are also on decline. That last bit is probably mostly due to our aggressive enforcement efforts, and also I think we're seeing more people using more responsible ride-sharing programs and services. Some categories of crime are on the rise, however. We're seeing an increase in fraud victims. Most of these are happening via the computer from suspects either outside of our state or outside of the country. In this past year, 3 Mena residents were scammed out of a total of $1 million sent through various cryptocurrency retailers. And these are very difficult, almost impossible to track because the funds get moved to different digital wallets and accounts and ultimately get spread around to the point where their final destination is almost irretrievable. So our police department consistently is putting out fraud warnings, especially to our senior community, and also engaging in other community education efforts. Training our officers is always our best defense to adapt to emerging threats that we anticipate. In the spring, right here at the high school, we did a department-wide training in tactics when responding to active shooters or other large-scale emergencies. This started off with classroom instruction and then moved on to taking that classroom education into applied scenario-based exercises throughout the school. Our officers also trained with our firefighters on their rescue task force concept for treating and evacuating injured persons at the scene of the incident. That exercise was actually followed up in the summertime with a large-scale drill here at the Mentor High School. Superintendent Heath talked about that quite a bit in his State of the School address. This involved a simulated explosion in one of the classrooms that required coordinated police department and fire department response. There were also school personnel that were full participants in the drill. Collectively, we practiced incident command responsibilities and really prepared us for these type of events going forward. And I just want to give a shout out to Superintendent Heath and his staff for the very serious commitment that they've made to school safety, and it is significant. This type of training our police and fire departments undergo on an ongoing basis takes place with the hope that it will never be put into practice. But sadly, that was not the case this last November 16th when our city was shocked by the first mass shooting in our history at the Mentor Mobile Green Estates. While this was not a random act, this was a reminder that no community is immune from this type of violence. And while tragic, the response of our police and fire personnel was remarkable and almost certainly saved lives. I'm going to show a little bit of video that comes from our dash cam and the body cams from those officers that responded to the incident, but let me just set this up momentarily. At 4:35 p.m. that day, the first call came into our dispatch center. Police officers arrived within 2 minutes and 16 seconds, very fast response of the time of that first call. The first 4 officers who arrived took gunfire as they rendered aid to the victims, while a tactical response to the shooter began, which ultimately was led by our SWAT team.
911, what's the location of your emergency?
7166 Menor Avenue.
What's going on there?
There's been a shooting.
There's a shooting?
Yes.
What's going on?
Right outside my trailer.
Okay.
A couple neighbors they're still shooting.
They're still shooting?
Get over here. Get over here. He's out there shooting at my neighbors now.
They're on the way right now, sir. I'm just trying to get as much information as you can, okay? I want you to stay safe, though, okay?
Go in, take a right on the first street, take a left on the first street.
White male, long male, glasses with a knee pad on. Go. He's 12 shots and a description of 2 silver pistols. 500. 500, got someone laying in the street. I copy, Lang, I sure you.
Okay, where's those?
So I think we have shots and fire. I have another nail down at unit.
What unit number is this? What unit number is this?
Do we know where from?
Where's it nail down unit 66.
Get back!
Where's he at?
Everyone stay inside!
Okay, get in there. Get in there. Where was he shot?
I tell him. He just goes, oh my God, and I was on the phone with
Multiple
my brother.
shots are still being fired,
My
basically.
brother's down at the house next door. I was on the phone with him.
Copy, shots being fired.
Okay, I'm dragging him inside here.
72 all the way in the back, coming from the northwest side. Basic units at the trailer park. We have another victim in lot 87. A gunshot to the shoulder. Is conscious and breathing.
87's right here.
Okay. I'm gonna go in.
What color is the trailer?
Are you okay?
I'm shot.
Okay. Let me see it. Take your shirt off. It went through. Looks like it went through. I'm not a doctor, but it looks like it went through. You shouldn't have to worry about the bullet being stuck in there. You're not bleeding a lot. Get something to keep the pressure on it. Take this. Thank you.
This came out of one of your bags.
Copy that. Bring your patient back to the staging location. We've got it.
All right. I'll let you know about the next victim here. Six base. We have a 5-man team approaching with shields. We're going to extract the female victim on the ground.
Copy.
Going past. Yep, going past, going past. Let us know when you got her.
Got her. Move.
Okay, going back, going back. Back to back.
Lake County Narcotics has Menor Avenue closed in Midland.
We have a second victim with a gunshot to the shoulder in the cruiser over there.
No, I said I didn't feel anything.
You got
I didn't feel any pulse.
You got a car pulling that way. It's not listening.
Pretty dramatic stuff. So in the end, the officers were able to immediately assist 2 of the 3 victims, one that did survive, thanks to the action of all of our Menor officers involved and the help of our fire department and many other Lake County police agencies. No additional harm came to any victims after our arrival, including our police and fire personnel. The suspect was isolated. He later died from a self-inflicted wound without any shots having been fired by the Menor Police Department. Just last Friday, Officers Sean Wilson, Brad Nicholson, Chuck Cox, and Anthony Haddad, who were the first 4 officers to arrive at the scene, each received the Distinguished Service Award from the Lake County Bluecoats Association, and next week we'll be receiving an award known as the Combat Cross from the Lake County Chiefs of Police for placing themselves in imminent danger to render aid to the victims. We have Officers Cox, Haddad, and Wilson here. I'm going to embarrass them and ask them to stand up. They represent all of our officers who acted heroically that day, and we appreciate them immensely. Following that incident, the benefits of our Victims Assistance Program were apparent. Our Victims Assistance Program provides personalized services to citizens victimized by crime. Some of the things include making them aware of their rights as victims, performing crisis intervention, providing counseling referrals, obtaining protection orders, and seeking restitution. Last year, we served 267 victims through this program, which was almost a 40% increase from the prior year. Also in that video, you saw the skills of our officers on display, and good officers start with recruiting good police candidates. Our city is recruiting across the country for police officers is down, and you can see the reasons why some avert going into this profession. But we're trying our best to adapt to meet this reality as well. We are, in order to continue having the best officers in the region, we're getting aggressive in inviting people to consider law enforcement as a career. So some of the things that we're doing are conducting job fairs. We're placing banners and digital billboards in the area, putting up posters at the mall and other high-profile locations where there are QR codes that you can actually scan and go right to the application process. We're putting promotional videos on YouTube and doing social media blasts. We've created a website called Join Mentor Police. All of our officers carry business cards now that will direct you to that website. We're attending college and police academy visits to speak directly to students, and we're doing direct mail to veterans. This year, we're going to be starting a junior police academy. This will be for 6th to 8th graders. It'll be a 1-week program, and it follows the example of the EMT academy that we have in place in partnership with our school district. And the idea is to get the young people interested in policing at an early age. Adapting to emergency response needs is fundamental to the mission of our fire department as well. When we reflect on the mobile home park shooting, it wasn't that many years ago that fire personnel would not have rushed into an active shooter scenario with the police wearing ballistic protection. But this is how we train and execute today. The incident also demonstrated the strides that we've made regarding the unified command of our safety forces, where there's seamless integration of police, fire, dispatch, and outside agencies at a strategic management level so that roles are understood and decisions can be made quickly and decisively, much of what was being practiced in that summertime event that I talked about here at the high school. So within 4 minutes of the initial dispatch for the mobile home incident, our fire personnel established a command center for both fire and police operations. They called in outside agency support. They established a rescue task force, and within 6 minutes, we're treating the first patient at that scene. All this was happening while the Mentor Police were confronting the shooter. So what we've learned from these national incidents across the country is that a lack of coordination and a delay takes lives. And so we're glad that our coordination efforts have paid off. Another example of this coordinated response came just after midnight on August 25th, when an EF1 tornado with 110-mile-an-hour winds touched down in our city near Mentor Avenue.
911, what's the location of your emergency?
Middlesex Road. We had a big fireworks tree come over our house.
We had a huge tree fall in our backyard over the top of our house.
I don't know if there's a tornado that came through or what, but I have a tree that has hit our house. live on Cosley Avenue in Menor, and the big tree in the front came right through my window.
I see a line down, and it's fire and sparking. I'm looking at it. It's going like a firework right now.
So the tornado carved almost a 3.5 mile path, about 150 yards wide, through several neighborhoods that started in the Stockbridge and Middlesex area. That night, in a 36-hour period, our fire department responded to 152 calls. Obviously, there was major tree damage and uprooting and home damage. We had 27 down power lines, several displaced families, and several major road routes were closed. But most of those were opened quickly by the round-the-clock efforts of our Public Works Department, led by Director Matt Schweikert. And I think probably the most amazing thing about that is we didn't have any injuries reported. So we're very blessed in that particular instance. I mentioned this last year, and this year we're in the process of planning and designing a new fire station, number 3, which is on the west end of Menor Avenue. We'll stay in that part of town that kind of serves our main commercial corridor. But when we talk about building fire stations today, these are no longer just buildings where fire equipment and personnel are housed. A significant portion of this construction will be for training, including an integrated training tower, which will include such training as confined space rescue, standpipe operations, rope rescues, ladder truck rescues, search and rescue, confidence maze activities, and all of these can take place at the station instead of off-site. So that allows our firefighters to do more training, to be better prepared, and to remain in the station a lot more of the time to be able to serve the public. And our Assistant City Manager, Robert Fowler, has been a big part in planning for this future station. Our Menor Fire Department is also adapting to operational changes at the Fairport Coast Guard Station. Our dive team is increasingly responsible for Lake Erie water rescues. We work closely with the Lake County Sheriff's Department to share resources, but this year we'll be adding a jet ski with a tow board to allow us to do much more rapid rescue efforts and transport our drivers more rapidly to major scenes. We're also purchasing a sonar scanner for underwater victim location. Adapting to the changes in the number of electrical vehicles that are now appearing on our roadways, our fire department will be purchasing special car blankets that will contain fire and contaminants, especially for electric vehicles. What a lot of people probably don't know is that lithium ion does not need outside oxygen to burn. So it's difficult to put these fires out for an electric vehicle, so these blankets will contain it. We're also going to be purchasing emergency plugs for each of our fire engines. These actually attach to the charging portal on electric vehicles, and they trick the car into stopping it from driving away under its own propulsion. So again, continuing to invest in the technology to meet ever-changing realities. Adapting to the changing needs of our community also requires a network of supporting agencies that serve people in ways that cannot wholly be provided by government. And we're proud to have each of them in our city and to partner with them on the many contributions that they're making to Mentor and Lake County. After 25 years in their former location, we were proud to welcome the Adams Board staff to their new offices on Menor Avenue. Like the Lake County Health District, having these vital addiction and mental health services more accessible to our residents and connected to the county through better transportation access is a big advantage for our city. Under the strong leadership of Executive Director Dion Dimitro, who you heard earlier, United Way will invest $1 million back into the community for the first time since before COVID, which is fantastic. This will allow for 60,000 services to be delivered. And last year, and she mentioned this earlier, but in partnership with the Menor School District in the city, United Way established a fresh produce distribution program, which is filling a huge gap in the food affordability crisis facing many families in our community right now. The Alliance for Working Together is critically important for our future economic success. led by Director Teresa Simons. They are addressing the gap in K-12 and adult worker training to provide a technically trained workforce for our area manufacturers, which is the heart of our economy. In its first full year of operations, they exposed 1,800 students to careers and opportunities in manufacturing. Right now, they have 75 apprentices training in the facility, and 150 incumbent workers receive credentials through a short-term training in both multiple CAD and CNC design programs. So that generous workflow that they're providing is critical to our future. The Lake Humane Society in the last year has found adoptive homes for 1,300 animals and provided food for over 1,400 pets through their Meals on Wheels for Pets program. This is an all-volunteer program for families that can't afford pet food, and they saw a 36% increase in need over the last year. So we're also pleased to welcome their new executive director, Randy Barnes, who started at the beginning of this year. And Randy, I think, are you here somewhere? There he is. Say hello to Mr. Barnes. And I just have to point out that really cute Manx cat over there is a rescue that is part of the Filipiak family. So. Our Lake County General Health District is our watchdog in identifying community health risks and responding to them. They're continually investing in programs to provide accessible and inclusive health care to some of the most vulnerable in our community, including from newborns to the disabled. Their Project Dawn continues to combat the opioid crisis in our community. And this year, they've established their own wastewater testing program to help our county meet environmental standards. The Headlands Community Center has been providing a venue for neighborhood-driven events and celebrations since 1953. This year, the city invested $200,000 in a major renovation of that facility using unspent community development block grant COVID funds. And I know that that's a project that Council Ward 4 and Vice President of our council, John Krieger, exerted his leadership on to get completed. Thanks to the work of our Economic Development Director, Kevin Malachek, and Planning Director, Kathy Cantanzariti, and their staffs, we're adapting to the ever-changing economy. Investment in our city remains vigorous. Last year, the city issued 3,400 building permits with a total value of $170 million. Mentor made it easier in 2023 to do business in the city by launching the Mentor Gateway. This is an online system that makes it easy to register as a contractor, apply for permits, schedule inspections, make planning commission and board of zoning appeals applications, report code violations, and access a whole other wide range of services. We had 7,000 transactions go through this online portal last year, which is about 30% of all our permit activity. So that saves time and effort for our business community to make life a little bit easier for you. In addition to the 70 new home starts, over 100 large and small businesses got their start in the city in 2023 across all sectors. Some of these include, of course, the Cleveland Clinic Mentor Hospital. Since opening on July 11th, Cleveland Clinic has stated that the Mentor Hospital has met or exceeded their expectations for serving residents from Mentor and the surrounding communities. They treated thousands of patients in their first 6 months and established the city's first 24-hour emergency department. They currently provide primary care, inpatient, robotic, orthopedic, and general surgery, a wide range of outpatient services, and they're fully connected to the larger Cleveland Clinic provider network, both directly and through their innovative in-room telehealth system, which is the only such system of its kind in the Cleveland Clinic portfolio. In fact, the Cleveland chapter of the American Institute of Architects awarded the hospital its 2023 People's Choice Award for its innovative design and advanced technology. So congratulations on that. University Hospital's urgent care facility also opened on Center Street this past year. Burgess & Nyepel opened its 10,000 square foot new office space in the beautiful Newell Creek Professional Center on Norton Parkway. We just had the ribbon cutting for that about 2 weeks ago. This was mentioned a little bit earlier, but All Contractors Supply was the first Lake County company to receive a $500,000 loan from the state of Ohio's Women's Business Enterprise Loan Program. And these funds will be used to purchase a new building to provide additional space for expansion, add some jobs, and also start up a new business, Raw Roofing Solutions. So in that picture, you see CEO Kim Gilmore, standing next to the Ohio's Director of Development, Lydia Mahalik, and our own Kelly Conrad. This was Director Mahalik's second visit to Mentor in the last year, and our city's economic engine has actually captured the attention of the DeWine administration. On that day, on that first visit, Director Mahalik spoke to our Chamber of Commerce. She followed that up with a roundtable discussion with Chamber and city leaders, and visited several of our companies. And during that visit, we talked about recognizing Mentor as a center of innovation in a number of different areas. Some of the other new businesses that were remarkable this year: Omnitech Labs, Vivo Infusion, Pura Vida, Lucy's Laser and Med Spa, Max Screen Printing, which is a relocation to our city, North Coast Recycling Specialist was another relocation. On the retail side, we saw the beautiful Genesis of Mentor dealership open, and Pop Shelf, which is a national brand selling a variety of retail goods at Creekside Commons. Some of the restaurants that were new to us this year, if you haven't visited yet: The Broken Egg, Panera Bread, Jackpot Street Food, Popeye's Chicken, a lot of talk about that this year, Savoria. I think we got more calls this year than anything else. When's Popeye's opening? When's Popeye's opening? And Beyond Eatery. Manufacturing continues to be the engine of our local economy, however. We just opened Irby, which is on Hamilton Drive. This is a division of Sonopar. It's a distributor of electrical, safety, tools, and other industrial products. And many of you in the room are aware that Case Western Reserve University's Weatherhead School annually recognizes the 100 fastest growing businesses in Northeast Ohio, the Weatherhead 100. In 2023, 5 Lake County businesses made that list, and 3 of them were from the city of Mentor: Enterprise Door and Supply, Carver Financial Services, and MUM Industries. And we congratulate all of them, but as part of their success, MUM recently opened its newest 10,000 square foot building for expansion on Tyler Boulevard. We're very fortunate to have several cutting-edge companies in our city who continue to be recognized for their manufacturing trailblazing. Enterprise Welding and Manufacturing, Alloy Precision Technologies, and North American Coating Labs all recently received the Evolution of Manufacturing Award from Smart Business Magazine, which recognizes manufacturers who are blending respect for traditional manufacturing with modern innovation to set new benchmarks for their respective industries. And I want to elaborate just a little bit on North American Coating Labs, because Smart Business not only recognized them as one of the most respected organizations in the optical coating industry, but it also acknowledged NACL as a global leader. And we are proud that many Mentor companies are successful in global markets, but a small part of NACL's success is due to, in part, to President and CEO Brian Wilson taking advantage of the city's international trade initiative and joining us on one of our outbound trade missions in 2022. He has since established a European sales office, and as a result of these efforts and his company's success, last year, Mr. Wilson was awarded a spot in the Photonics 100 list of worldwide leaders in the optics and photonics industry. So we're proud of his accomplishment, and it brings great repute to the city as well. So thank you, Brian. The city's international trade program celebrated another big win this year with the recent grand opening of the U.S. division of Block Digital. Their location in our city is a direct result of our international business recruitment efforts, and you'll see up on the screen some examples of their work. Block Digital serves industry sectors that include aerospace, power generation, defense, transportation, lubricants, and supporting industries, with Hollywood quality marketing materials and animations. Their clients include industry leaders such as Rolls-Royce, BAE Systems, Tesco, Lubrizol, Jaguar Land Rover, Kongsberg, and JCB. In addition, Block Digital is among the world's best at merging software solution design, virtual and altered reality, and 3D modeling to provide web and app digital solutions that include computer-based training tools, graphic design, virtual immersive training, and digital twinning. One of their clients, company JCB, which is a global leader in the production of construction equipment, for their client, they created the UK's first digital twin factory of the future, which is helping the company to experiment with changes to their production virtually to be able to boost production in their real-life factory. So when we talk about adaptability, I think it's really cool that Block Digital is now doing business at the Matchworks building, which was built in 1868, and it was the site of the city's very first factory, making nuts and bolts and later textiles and matches. So 155 years later, in the same space as our first factory, we have a company that is creating some of the world's first virtual factories. So pretty neat. Our international trade initiative continues also to partner with organizations to bring important educational content to our manufacturing community. Just 2 weeks ago, the Ohio Aerospace Institute President John Sankovic moderated a seminar by industry leaders in the area on hydrogen development efforts and opportunities for Ohio companies. One of the participants was our own Denoratech, who announced at that time that they were building a 10,000 square foot energy innovation center at their facility here in Mentor, which will target electrodes for the emerging green energy hydrogen sector. So as they've indicated, there's great potential for further expansion here in our city as that market develops. Some other new investment that's expected this year, the Human Bean, which touts itself as one of the world's finest coffee makers. If you don't know what they do, they serve every one of their cups with a chocolate-covered coffee bean on top. So you got that to look forward to this year. Tropical Smoothie on Mentor Avenue. Kearney's Public House, which is a modern Irish pub and restaurant with a 2-season patio that will be located on Center Street. This is another local development by brothers Seamus and McPatrick Coyne, who are partnered up with David Bartulovic and Brendan Kearney. Our city is also in the middle of a comprehensive housing study right now, and the purpose of that is to help us identify holes in our housing portfolio citywide. It's going to help us predict housing trends, make recommendations on housing strategies, and help us bring the right type of housing options to the community when we consider new developments. New areas like the Bolton family property that has yet to develop, so this will help us assist in that, but also it'll help to inform us of major redevelopment projects. I'm happy to say that the Sears property is finally been transferred into private hands. It's with a developer that we have worked with well in the past and has had great success in our city. We're talking with him about multiple different options for development of that site, which will most certainly include a heavy residential component to it. So we're proud of the strength of the local economy and how investment in the city has adapted over the decades, but equally important to our residents is our commitment to environmental sustainability. It can be difficult to ease the pressures that a highly developed urban environment places on our natural resources, but our city is committed to seizing on opportunities, large and small, to be better stewards of the environment. So we're doing our part to shrink our carbon footprint. We entered into an agreement about a year ago with First Energy so that any time a street light in our city goes out, it will be replaced with an LED version. So we expect a complete transformation within about 5 years. That'll save 80% of our energy costs, which will be passed on to our residents and our businesses. Most of our cities have transitioned, most of our city facilities, nearly all have transitioned to high efficiency LED lighting. In fact, all of the decorative street lights that you see around town are actually owned by the city. They are all high-efficiency LED lights. And we invest about $250,000 a year in our facilities for energy upgrades alone. The city conducts an after-school program for over 500 Mentor School students. And just this last year, we received a $329,000 grant through the Ohio EPA's Diesel Mitigation Trust Fund. We'll use this money to replace 2 old diesel buses, which we use for that program, and replace it with 1 electric vehicle bus and a new charging station. And we've been informed that we will be the only city in the United States that actually operates an electric school bus. So pretty neat as well. The city is also the first public entity in Lake County to use public funds to place charging stations. We did that at our Garfield Park about a year ago, and our regional planning organization, NOACA, just informed us that we received a grant that will pay 80% for the placement of 4 additional charging stations at City Hall over the next 2 years probably. So we are also mindful that Lake Erie is Ohio's greatest natural asset and a huge economic advantage in the world economy. Our Congressman Dave Joyce, who is the co-chair of the House Great Lakes Task Force, recently commented that the Great Lakes provides more than 1.5 million jobs, supplies 90% of our nation's fresh surface water, and generates $62 billion in wages every year. The storm water that falls within or moves through our city makes its way to Lake Erie either directly or through the Mentor Marsh. Because of this, we are continually looking to find projects that can enhance water quality before it makes its way to the lake. Cities are responsible for developing local regulations that align with the Clean Water Act and Ohio EPA regulations regarding stormwater management, referred to as MS4 rules. This year, we had significant revisions to our local rules that will tighten them up to help reduce runoff and stop erosion efforts and nutrient loads that make their way to the lake. We're also embarking on a 16,000 square foot permeable paver parking construction project, which will be getting started here in the spring at the Mentor Lagoons. This project will so once completed, it will filter contaminated water that deposits in the parking lot into a bioswale before it makes its way out into the lake. And this is about almost a $600,000 project, half of which will be paid for through a grant we received through the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. The city owns some property just across our border in the city of Painesville, and we are working with a regional conservation agency to take a look at about 70 or 80 acres of that for a project that will filter nutrients and saline or high salt water content from old brine wells that come off of this area. The importance of that is that this is at the very upstream end of the Black Brook Creek, which ultimately flows into the Mentor Marsh. And if you heard me talk about the major renovations that were made there last year, about $12 million worth of investment. This will continue to help clean up the marsh and restore it to its former viability. We're also partnering with the Lake County Soil and Water Agency and Chagrin River Partnership on a stream restoration project on the old Norton property estate. This will improve water quality and sediment reduction by decommissioning an old existing dam that's there. Actually, it'll create a channel that will route around it. It'll restore about 600 lineal feet of stream channel, create some additional wetlands, and restore riparian and aquatic habitat in that area. This is about a $400,000 project that was made possible through a grant through the U.S. EPA's Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, or the GLRI. And our Congressman Joyce and his colleagues on the Great Lakes Task Force recently introduced the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative Act of 2024. So this bill will reauthorize the GLRI through fiscal year 2031 and increase funding to $500 million in 2026 for projects that reduce pollution and fight invasive species. But the reauthorization will also fund projects that that reduce coastal erosion. This is significant for our city and very timely. You've heard me talk in the past about the destruction of our coastline and our nature preserve because of the action of Lake Erie and the high water marks. We're currently under contract for a master plan being created by a group called the Smith Group to look at the 6,000 feet along our city's nature preserve shoreline. And the purpose of this master plan is to provide alternate plans for erosion protection, develop an agency permitting strategy, integrate public access to the shoreline. We did a survey that about 2,200 people responded to, and the number one comment was we want more access to the beach, more access to integrate the beach with what we have in the pathways that go through the nature preserve, and it will help us identify funding opportunities. So we hope to see some action on that as early as maybe 2025. This is kind of an aside to that. Our Natural Resource Division conducts a migratory bird banding program, and through a permit through the U.S. Geological Survey offices. It takes place at the marsh and in our nature preserve. And last fall, 1,900 birds were captured and banded as a part of that program, including this little guy, the rare Kirtland's warbler. And it was only the 11th time in U.S. history and the first time in Ohio that this bird was actually captured and banded. It actually just came off the endangered species list in 2019. And I put that on here just to highlight the diversity at the Menor Marsh and our nature preserve, and just how important it is to maintain that habitat for migratory birds and bats and butterflies and the like. I'm also going to petition them to rename that the mentor warbler if they find the application. So the lake is the reason the city places so much value on the 380 acres that is our nature preserve and marina, and why we continue to invest there in order to bring residents out and guests to enjoy it. We opened our new Menor Marsh Boardwalk last year, and that's been very popular. This year we are in the design phase of an observation tower that, by that image on your screen, you see will sit on the edge of the Menor Marsh. And it's a 95-foot tower. It's about a $2 million project that will, unlike some of the views you get at the metro parks of the lake, you'll actually be able to get a bird's eye view of the Menor Marsh when completed. We expect that to maybe get under construction as early as late this year, but probably 2025. We're also working in partnership with the Lake Development Authority and the Menor Yacht Club for a project that will stabilize the marina channel. This is the channel that goes from our marina out to the lake. All the boats that come in and out of our marina have to go through that channel. This is 90-year-old infrastructure, and it's a very expensive project. It's going to go out to bid here any day now. We're very fortunate that a majority of the funds, about $6 million, were made possible through the efforts of our state representative Jamie Callender and Senator Jerry Serino. When without their assistance and that state help, we would not be able to move forward with this project. We're also going to be starting construction this spring on a multi-purpose building at our marina. Construction is about $1.5 million worth of project. This will be a kayak storage building and rental office. We'll also have a food concession there for people that just want to visit the nature preserve. We'll also have outdoor seating. And where the area, which is the middle part of that building, where the kayaks are stored, the kayaks will be on rolling racks that can be removed, and that will be available for rental for indoor-outdoor parties and that. So that'll be a nice new facility for our public to be able to use. And we also replaced about 3/4 of our marina roadways this year, about a $300,000 investment, and we'll finish up the rest of those this year. The Menor Lagoons improvements are just a few of the many exciting projects that have kept our Parks and Recreation Department busier than at any point in their history over these last years. It seems that we were cutting a ribbon almost every week on a new project in 2023. The highlight of our year was the opening of the Mentor Community Rec Center. This 130,000 square foot facility has just had an overwhelming response by the public. In not even a year, we already have 4,500 memberships and over 10,000 total members. They're offering fitness programs, basketball, volleyball, soccer, tennis, racquetball, aquatics, indoor golf. This year, we expect to have 2,500 programs or activities go through our rec center. We'll have 15,000 registered participants. Some of the new things coming this year, we'll have a health fair. We'll conduct health and wellness clinics. We'll have start of a new indoor golf league. If you haven't visited that facility, I encourage you to do so. Every square inch of it on the interior has been refurbished, and it's just fantastic. And I'm very happy to say that our city council has funded a design this year for a phase 2 of that project, of that building, which would ultimately build it out and add an indoor recreation pool and do some exterior renovations. We also saw the opening of our Springbrook Gardens building this past year. That's been wildly popular as well for community events, private events, weddings. A number of the agencies that I mentioned earlier have used that for some of their programs as well. So it's just another great facility for us to use. And the last part of our master plan, and I know Councilman Blake is particularly proud of this part because he was a big part of getting this moving forward, was the installation of these 2 pavilions. So our park is complete, and it's another 70 acres that we've placed into preservation for the public. This past Memorial Day, we honored the occasion by also dedicating the city's new Memorial Promenade. It represents the respect that we hold as a community for the sacrifice given by those lost in service to our country. It honors their service commitment and provides a place of reflection for those who will walk this path to remember these heroes. It physically ties together the reconditioned Civil War Monument, which marked its 150th year of placement, the Vietnam Memorial, which marked its 40th year of placement, and the 1879 refurbished stone structure that is now used as a chapel and a reflection space. And we were honored that U.S. Army Green Beret and Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose joined us as our guest speaker. And going forward, this is now the permanent location for the city's Memorial Day and Veterans Day services. Our Wildwood Cultural Center is constructing a new storage facility. It's a 2,400 square foot building and about an $800,000 investment by the city. And while this is simply utilitarian in nature and not really something that will be accessible to the public, I think it's important to recognize that our council is it's important that we are adding beauty to these important places in our community. So when it's done, it will exactly complement the Tudor style of the Manor House, and I think it'll be a nice addition to that landscape. And we're not yet done with facility improvements. I want to talk just a minute about public pools. Before the pandemic, attendance at our public pools dropped by 40 to 50%. And since COVID, those numbers have dropped even further. And it's really not just a local thing. We're seeing this at a national level. There's just a lessening interest in people using public swimming pools. Since COVID, we've had a very difficult time hiring lifeguards. And so the last 2 years, we've only had 1 pool open at Civic Center. Last year, about 20,000 people used that pool, and that is about a third of as many who used just that pool alone from as recently as 2016. Garfield Pool was last opened in 2019, just prior to the pandemic, and even then, its attendance was only a quarter of what it was probably 10 years earlier. So these are national trends. A lot of people are investing in private pools. Young people are just doing other activities. So we had to take a hard look at whether or not it was still prudent for the city to operate 3 public pools going forward. So we spent some money invoking a study that took a look at the cost to maintain and refurbish Garfield Pool. And in the end, it came out to about a $6 million price tag. So we will be removing those pool facilities soon. But Garfield Park is a special place in our city. It honors the legacy of former Mayor Eleanor Garfield, who worked with many community leaders and private contributors to develop that park way back in 1958. It became the city's first major park in 1980 that was open to all of our residents. So we have about 2 million park users that visit all of our parks in the course of the year. But Garfield has the widest range of sports activities of any of our parks. So in removing the pool, we really didn't want to reduce the number of activities that were available to all the families that use it every day. So this year we will be designing a brand new splash park there in place of the pool. It will be the largest and most creative compared to the other splash pads that we have at 3 of our other park facilities. And we expect construction to go forward that in 2025. We'll also be opening our Morton Pool this year and starting up a very big schedule for our swim lessons as well. So the investment we're making in our physical recreation assets has adapted to the changing demands of our residents, but the greatest impact we have on their quality of life comes from the programs that we offer. Parks and Recreation Director Ken Kaminsky and his staff continue to build on these offerings each year. At our ice arena, we have over 500 competitors participating in our hockey programs from youth through adult hockey. We have over 6,000 people who enjoy open skating there during the year. Our Learn to Skate program saw an 18% increase over the prior year, and we surpassed 1,000 participants for the first time. And we just came to learn that we actually have the second largest Learn to Skate program in the state of Ohio. Our arena staff also just started a new program here known as the Inspire Synchronized Skating Team. This is a first step to experiencing the sport of synchronized skating, and after one or 2 years, the expectation is that those younger folks will graduate and transition to the more advanced intensity program that's been very successful for our arena staff. The Mentor Senior Center this year celebrated its 50th anniversary, and it all started at Mentor Beach Park 50 years ago with a very small group of Mentor seniors, and it's now celebrating its 30th year at its location on Civic Center Boulevard. And in that time, it's grown to over 4,000 members. It's $1 million operation. It was the only center that was providing services through the pandemic. We have we prepare 12,000 home-cooked meals annually there. We had over 76,000 visitors in 2023, and they have 90 different programs that are offered 5,700 times that in 2023 were enjoyed by 107,000 different participants. So, you know, in the 50 years, it's really grown into something that we're extraordinarily proud of. This year, we'll be moving forward at the Senior Center with a long overdue parking lot expansion, where the city was able to purchase the neighboring property. So this $2 million project will essentially add 115 spots for our seniors to park and essentially double the parking capacity there. Our summer camps participation continues to be extraordinarily popular. We'll be offering 111 different summer camps this year. We expect 3,500 participants and over 92 camp weeks. On the first day of registration, the week-long camps sold out in 4 minutes online. And 85% of all camps were filled up by the end of the first day. So you got to act quickly in Mentor if you want to have some fun. Our Blackbrook Golf Course continues to be one of the most popular venues in Northeast Ohio, with over 37,000 rounds being played there last year. We were pleased that our course rating has gone up on Golf Now. It went from a 3.9 to a 4.4, and that's significant because that's all based on positive reviews and course condition as responded to online by those who use the golf course. We'll be replacing the old cart barn there this year. But what we're most proud of at Blackbrook is our ever-growing commitment to junior golf. And in addition to the annual junior clinics and leagues that we put forward every year there, we are the home course to the Mentor High School boys and girls golf teams, the Lake Catholic boys and girls golf team, and the Mentor Christian golf team. We also host events for the PGA of America Junior Golf Tour, the North Coast Junior Golf Tour, the U.S. Kids Junior Tour, the First Tee of Cleveland, and the Ohio Girls Golf Foundation. And I just want you to know that this is very unusual for a public course in this era, because today a lot of public courses are struggling to survive, so it's all about the revenue. But for us, as part of our recreation programming, it's very important to grow a game that we know that teaches kids discipline and positive lessons for life. And finally, something that I know a lot of you always look forward to, we are super excited about Mentor Rocks programming this year. We have, I think, maybe perhaps one of our best years yet. In June, we're going to be starting off with a tribute to Queen. Queen Nation will be returning. The following week, we'll have Fresh Horses, which is a Garth Brooks tribute. On the 18th of June, National Recording Artist, Finger 11, will be gracing our amphitheater. On 25th of June, a Def Leppard tribute, Def Legend, is scheduled. July is another fantastic month for us. We'll be starting off with an Eagles tribute, Hotel California, on the 2nd. On Independence Day, Bob Seger tribute, Forever Seger, will be returning. On the 9th, the Bruno Mars tribute, Uptown Funk, will return. They were quite popular. We have a new act this year on the 16th, Love Song, which is a tribute to The Cure. On the 23rd, a Foo Fighters tribute out of Boston, the Best of Foo Boston. And on July 30th, we're holding that date. We're in communication and negotiations with 2 national acts, which we have yet to reach agreement with, but hopefully will be soon. August is going to be a really fun month for us at the amphitheater. We'll start off with a Bruce Springsteen tribute, Bruce in the USA. And on the 13th and 14th, we're going to be doing our own Taylor Swift Eras rendition. So we're actually adding a date. We're going to be doing a Tuesday and a Wednesday. We have a woman by the name of Katie Ellis, who is coming in actually from England, who has what's considered to be the best Taylor Swift tribute in the world, and she'll be doing back-to-back shows on those days. We also have Zozo at our City Fest on Friday, the 16th, and on the 17th, that Saturday, a Pink tribute, Just Like Pink. And we're very excited on August 20th to be bringing national recording country artist Maddie and Tay to the amphitheater. And then finally, we're going to close out the season with a Journey tribute, our local great, fantastic band, Escape, who always gives us an extra long show under the lights to close out our year. So, in conclusion, adapting to change is something we can either resist or embrace. The willingness to embrace it early generally leads to success. So what of our little friend up here from the start of our talk? Well, the long-dead woolly mammoth is expected to make its return from extinction by 2027, according to a biotech company that has been working to reincarnate the ancient beast since 2021 using gene-editing DNA. And for me, I think it's a perfect example that shows that no condition is ever permanent and that the future very much depends on applying the resources, creativity, and talent to make it better. So I believe that Mentor's success has very much been tied to our ability to adapt to the changes that we have faced in our short history. We will never be perfect, but as Winston Churchill once said, to improve is to change, to be perfect is to change often. So I want to thank all of you for sticking around. I know this gets a little bit lengthy. I just want to say, too, on behalf of Mentor City Council and our administrative staff, we thank all of you for your contributions to the community. This Mentor and Lake County is a very close-knit community. We rely on each other, and all the contributions that you make on a daily basis certainly do not go unnoticed. So I thank you. Happy to answer any questions you might have. but I'm sure you want to get on with your day as well.